Well, firstly, this is the first live audience, live podcast in Saudi Arabia, and I'm delighted to be the host. Thank you very much. And I'm here with John bin London, and I feel quite privileged because I have seen you on social media, and the one that I saw was the where's this person from?
Oh yeah.
So I think it's probably the most famous one, probably got the most views, I imagine. And I must admit, when I first heard that, the first thing I was screaming out, Saudi.
Yeah.
And listening to you have a sort of Najdi sort of accent. So I was like, yes. So I was even going even further. And then I heard he's actually not from that area. So tell me, how did this start? How did this come about?
So I lived for the first 8 years of my life in the UAE, in Abu Dhabi. And I didn't learn Arabic there. My father was running one of the big fours, and my mum, she's really into horses. Her best friend is an English lady, married to an Emirati Bedouin guy. So our horse was at their stables in the desert. Every day we used to go there. So that's how I lived the first 8 years of my life. So to me, that was normal. That was everyday life. I remember later on in life being like, after we moved back to the UK, I say moved back, I'd never lived there before. I'd only ever been there on holiday, but as expats, also known as white immigrants, we say we're moving back. So I found it quite hard when I first moved back to the UK. Like I didn't. How
much time did you spend in the UK then? Was it?
So from the age of 8 years old until 9 months ago. So wow. Like you're looking at close to 30 years. Like just under 30 years, I guess.
So do you mind if I ask you then, where do you call home?
Well, that's a strange one, because I think that question for people like myself, it's a bit more nuanced. It's not as simple as I'm ethnically from here, I was born here, I lived all my life here. For me, that question entails a long story. For time, Abu Dhabi was my home. I knew, okay, I'm English, I'm from Nottingham, but I knew I'm from Nottingham, but I don't know Nottingham. I've been there on summer holidays. I'm very English. I'm very proud to be from the UK. I love England, but also part of being, home is here in Saudi Arabia. Like I mentioned, we spoke about before. The relationships I have with my friends, like they are genuine relationships of like that's my brother. Like that's who I look at as my brother. There have been a lot of different events in my life where they take the position of family members. Not that my family has ever fallen short or not ever been there, but they're an addition to that. I'm comfortable here. I live here, with my wife. This is where she's from, and it was very important for me to not take her away from her family or her sisters, etc. So that was, again, one of the reasons, which was that final step in moving here. So here, for me as well, is home. It's part of it. Like, it's strange because I talk about Saudi Arabia sometimes by accident as if I'm a Saudi, which is something you fall into. And I used to make fun out of like the Saudi scholarship students, which came back and they'd be like, oh, in America, we have like this amazing coffee. And I'm like, I'm like, you're from Shmaisi. And now I've started doing that. So feel free to make as many jokes as you like. To be like, John, you're from Nottingham, not from. But
I can resonate with that. There was a psychological model that I created on a theoretical basis called the identity tree. And what it does, it starts off with these core constructs of who you are, your gender, and then as you transform from being a son, you then become a father, a brother, and you take certain elements of identity within that, and it goes up to your characteristics, into your thought processes. And the reason why I asked you the question of what do you call home is because during this process, I shared my identity tree with a couple of psychologists, and deep within the roots was British. being British. And I feel myself, I know the third verse of God Save the Queen. I'm very British and very proud of my heritage. And then there was this bomb they dropped when one of the team said, do you mind if I ask a question? What happens if Britain and Saudi go to war? And in a heartbeat, I'd chuck the passport in the bin. I wouldn't, my heart doesn't skip a beat.
Yeah.
And then I recognized, because of Saudi has this influence on you, it sort of immerses you in their culture and all the values, all the goodness.
Yeah.
It was then I recognized that I am actually, although I'm not officially Saudi, I'm more Saudi as an identity than what I would be for being British. And that's why I wanted to ask you, where does that meet with you?
For me, like I'll always say, like for the people who don't know, like I converted to Islam at the age of about 15.
MashaAllah.
You know, my identity, like foremost, is as a Muslim. But then, like, I have subsections to my identity. You know, I'm a British Muslim. I'm an English Muslim. You know, the identity of, you know, of the Saudiness is something where, like, I'm not a Saudi as much as, okay, maybe, you know, my feelings, or I have feelings of like, you know, of course, a lot of love for Saudi Arabia. This is where my friends are from, you know, which my brothers is where my wife's from, where my kids will be from. Okay, so there's always there will be an eternal love for Saudi Arabia, and obviously there's the Islamic part as well. In all honesty, like, I don't really think about it too much about like, I'm this or I'm that. I look at like, I'm Muslim, these guys are my brothers, I want the best thing. There's obviously, I think, you know, it's obvious to anyone, like I have a huge love for Saudi Arabia. There's part of me which feels like a Saudi.
That's very
clear. As much as I will always say to people, I'm not a Saudi, okay? Understand, I am English, I'm not a Saudi, but I feel like a Saudi, okay? Of course I have a loyalty to this country. I have a loyalty to this country for many different reasons. Like even when it comes to like my status here, I am on my residency. I am what they call Zawj Muwatana. You know, the husband of a Saudi citizen. Okay, and the way they treat me.
Does she give you exit entries?
She does. She does.
That's fantastic.
I have to behave myself.
MashaAllah.
And also pay to leave and come back.
Is this how she gets her?
But the thing is, though, also like within the law here, I'm treated the same as a Saudi citizen. So, for example, when it comes to work, when it comes to healthcare, so I feel that it is a responsibility for me to behave as though I'm a Saudi citizen, to represent the country as a Saudi. So when it comes to like identity, like at the end of the day, I will never, even if I'm given, for example, Saudi nationality, I will be a British person who is, you know, with Saudi citizenship. What we say in Arabic, like jinnis, okay? I will be like Britannian jinnis Saudi, okay?
MashaAllah.
And that's part of it, and I never deny that. Even in Islam, like we have our roots and where we're from, we shouldn't deny that, you know. And the other thing is as well is part of like, you know, within Islam, like Rasulullah sallallahu he said, لا فرق بين العربي والعجمي والأبيض والأسود إلا بالتقوى. There's no difference between, you know, an Arab and non-Arab, a black man and white man, except for in piety. And I believe that. I see here in Saudi Arabia, there are many different people from different backgrounds, whether they are Saudi, non-Saudi, whether they are Saudis from different areas, whether they are a Bedouin, non-Bedouin, tribal, non-tribal, from the north, the south, or whatever. But there's a unity. You know, it's something like you look at Saudi history and you look at like the history of King Abdulaziz, and he united the tribes together, the people. And that's something which is one of the spirits of Saudi Arabia. There is unity. Even when we go out in the streets, this is one of the only countries I can walk anywhere I like and I'll see a group of guys and I'll go up to them and start talking to them. And the way they'll behave with me is if we're like old school friends.
Yes.
Okay? Can't do that anywhere in the world.
No, you're
except
right.
for here. So we have that. There's a sense of brotherhood, which we have, which makes me feel like I don't need to, you know, like I can be British and still their brother. Like being Saudi is more than just a nationality. It's that kind of brotherliness that we have for each other.
And it's quite unique, isn't it? You know, from anywhere else in the world. It brings me to, and if I may, one thing as a revert to Islam, I've got my own story, but I find myself being drawn and very fascinated. And it's very rare that I've seen two stories that are alike. So I would really like to hear a little bit more about what was your period of time, especially being a 15-year-old, because during that time, this is where hormones are raging, and your decision then, what drove you towards Islam, and do you remember, was there somebody of influence, or was this researching, as in taking the Shahada?
Yeah, so it was a lot. So Islam isn't something which is strange to us. You know, I spent my childhood in the UAE. I used to live next to one of the biggest mosques there, called Musalla al-Eid. So you know, like every day from when I was a baby, I hear the adhan 5 times a day, and actually, like, and even something my mum said. My mum, she's not a Muslim, she's a Christian, but she said, like, there's something, like, she loves the sound of the adhan. You know, I remember once I was going back and she was like, "Can you go get me one of the adhan clocks and that ever?" And I was like, brought her. But there's something, like, when you hear the Quran, when you hear the adhan, there's a feeling that you get, like, I don't know how to explain. It's like like a feeling of, like, haiba. It's like prestigious. Like, this isn't something which is written by man. Okay, that's obvious to you know, an ignorant person like myself, an uneducated child. There's something which resonates. And I remember, like, I always see all the Muslims, everyone, you know, going to go pray 5 times a day. Like, these people are convinced. It's not something like, they take it seriously. You know, Christianity people don't take it seriously. They teach them about, you know, Christianity like it's like Disney stories. And when you go into Christianity, you can find many mistakes. It's really not that hard. Again, an uneducated person like myself, it takes 5 minutes to learn how to read and write in Hebrew, and you can go read the Bible in Hebrew and read what the Christians are saying. You're like, it's not the same thing. You know, you ask any Christian, you're like, what's the first law? And they're like, love thy neighbor more than yourself. You're like, no, it's not. It's in Deuteronomy, and they call it the Shema. In the Hebrew language, it says Shema Israel Yahweh Elohimno Yahweh Ahad, which in Arabic, يعني اسمع بني إسرائيل Allah Rabbana Allahu Ahad. Okay, it's like the same word in Hebrew and Arabic, Ahad. So it means it. Sorry, in English, like, listen, Israel, like the people of Israel, or like I don't know what you call it, Israel. Like, God, our Lord, He is one. Okay, and the word ahad it's very specific. You can't divide it. It's the pureness of one. Okay, so the idea of the Trinity,
which moves away from the Trinity.
Yeah, it moves away. It's what we call tawheed. So you know, later on in life, you know, I moved back to the UK. I saw a lot of things in the UK. You know, the drunkenness. You know, like and this stuff. And I know, of course, everybody knows, like, alcohol is haram. Like, you can't, haram, okay? And I saw how, like, people who were educated, who were respectable people in society, you know, well-to-do with whatever, you know, they got drunk and they start behaving like absolute buffoons. You know, you get guys, you know, they had something to drink and they're, like, on the floor crying about the most pathetic thing. Like, their dignity has just totally gone. If you respected him before, you didn't respect him after. And I was just like, and it's poison for the body. Like, you know, binge drinking in the UK was a big thing. And there were people, you know, in their late 20s, early 30s having to seek medical treatment for this. And all these things, and you're like, yeah, like, there's a reason why in Islam, like, of course, because Allah, He said it's haram, we don't do it. Allah forbid it, we don't do it. But, like, why would you want to? And then, you know, when I was learning more and more and more and more, the more that you learn, the more you know, you realize you were a lot more kind of ignorant before and how much you didn't know. And then also, you're like, that's right. You know, like, sometimes when, like, things are right but you don't want it to be right. because like, so for example, like eating cheeseburgers and loads of cheesecake every day isn't going to be good for my health and I'm going to get really fat. You're like, you don't want it to be true, but it's true. Like you want to lose weight, you need to like cut out those cheeseburgers and cheesecake. So it was kind of the same thing with Islam. I'd learn more and I'd be like, I can't argue with that. Like, it's right. So the more I learned that, the more I was convinced, and I was like, at the end of the day, John, like this is about you, and if you're a sincere person, then you have to become Muslim because you know it's the truth. Like you can't deny that.
So do you remember when you took the Shahada?
Oh, it was a long time ago. It was like I do. You know what I remember more than most? The first time I prayed in a mosque.
Tell me about that.
That time, that
in
was...
the mosque it was?
Yeah.
So you had guidance?
Yeah, well, kind of. So yeah, so I had a friend and he was like, John, let's go pray. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go. And I remember like feeling that kind of feeling of like uncertainty, like I don't really know how to. Like even now, like I kind of, John, just copy me. What I do, copy me. And that's probably the time when I felt like the most kind of euphoric feeling of like I really felt like I'm worshipping Allah. You know,
yes,
Allah. And
do you know my experience was a little bit different because I didn't have anybody to copy. So I'd seen it, I'd researched it, and I just remember when I first took the Shahada was around about 20 days after about 20 days during Ramadan of a particular year, around about 20 years ago. And I just remember the very first time was standing up in the bedroom and I was going, Allahu Akbar, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. And it was the Lord's Prayer, and then going down, and then, you know, I wasn't too sure what I was doing. And it's almost my brain has deleted or dismissed some of the areas of that growth. Yeah. Because I don't want to be wrong. It's an embarrassing thing to think what I did was completely inaccurate. So now it's almost like the only memory I have of praying is with ihsan, with perfection. Yeah. But clearly that couldn't have been the place because we have to learn. And it was interesting because I just had a conversation with you. Yeah. And you said, I don't quite remember doing the Shahada.
Yeah, there are things like my memory is absolutely terrible, but there are certain things where like, I guess moments and things that happened where that was, you know, sometimes the realization doesn't quite sink in. I remember the first time I went for Umrah, not really knowing what to feel like. It's, you know, like after about 20 years.
How you felt, because when it comes to our feelings, we do hold on to how we felt more than the actual recorded visual memory.
So I remember, okay, so basically it was the first time when I came to Saudi Arabia, so I'd been a Muslim for like, you know, over 20 years. And going to Dawadimi, and I was with my brother Abu Sati. He was from Dawadimi. He's like, literally like, that's my brother, 100%. Like we're both the same, the same pair of idiots. One's from Nottingham, the other one's from Dawadimi. Like, you know. So something which was amazing for me is because obviously coming from a family, they're not Muslims. There's a lot of stuff we don't know. We don't know what to do. I'm not going to go for Umrah with my father. I'm not going to go with my, my brother. We don't have that. So having someone who is my brother, who he's not going to make a big deal out of it. We just kind of go together was fantastic. So it was Abu Sati and then his brother Abu Saud. And we drove from Dawadimi 8 hours to Taif. Had dinner. Went to Al-Miqat and then went down. And
have you been to Taif recently in the Miqat?
No.
MashaAllah, it's amazing now.
Okay.
There's been a full refurb and it's like, it's so clean and it's modern.
It wasn't.
It smells wonderful.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad I got to try it before. I kind of like the, I want to experience what everyone else has experienced. So we went and on the way there, like these guys from Dawadimi, so they love something called the Muhawara. Muhawara is a type of poetry.
Okay.
It's basically like rap battles for the Bedouins, and they say some really bad stuff. Okay, but it's like really kind of like under the table and like the remarks. You have to really understand like the like a lot of the culture and the historical things, but they're like saying some really. If you understand it, you're like, what? Anyway, so like 8 hours of that, I was like, I think we need to take like more than once. So, but it was really good. It was a unique experience. I remember like, I was like, you know, going, and I remember like that time she was my fiance, like messaging me like, you know, finally going for like Umrah, and we went and we had dinner with like their brother-in-law in Taif, and yeah, then going and going to a miqat and getting the stuff, and when we're like going down through the mountains from Taif,
Al-Hada.
yeah, calling my friend Abu Khan, who I spoke to you about before, the father of Mira.
Yes.
You know, he was someone like, I wish, you know, he was in the UK at that point. I wish he could have been with us as well. And he's someone who's like really, really, really close to me. So I just wanted to speak to him. I wanted to speak to him a little bit and tell him like, you know, like I'm going, of course, I'm going to pray for you and Mira, yeah, so that was, it was really important for me to speak to him. So after that, you know, we got there, and I remember like, we were looking for like hotels because my friends were all Bedouins. They're not going to book anything beforehand, 100%. So we're like, me, Abu Sati, Abu Saud, going around looking for a hotel. We finally found one. You know, and then like going there. I remember like going in and just being like, what am I going to feel? Like the first time seeing the Kaaba Gadami, you know, in front of me, you know. For more than 20 years I've been a Muslim. I face and I pray towards the Kaaba, and I've like, but you know, going in there, like, you know, you always hear these stories, people, they see it and they start crying, this and that, and I didn't know what to feel. Like I felt like when you're in there, like there's this feeling of like tranquility, and one thing I'll always remember is there were some birds playing and hearing them and just being like.
Was that near the Adhan?
Birds
often sing near the Adhan
and we're in the Haram, we're making tawaf. And almost like, alhamdulillah, Abu Sati, he was with me, so when he can like count how many times. I remember he said to me, John, do you know how many times we've gone around? I'm like, but you know, but how...
I think everybody can resonate with that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But then having this feeling of like, I don't know what to feel. Like I have this feeling of like...
Submission?
Yeah, submission, but also just like, in a way, you kind of feel like you're dreaming a little bit. Does it feel real? You're like, how it is compared to what you've seen.
So what year was this that you went to?
That was the end of 2022.
So it was that recent?
Yeah.
See, my experience was, so I reverted to Islam about 20 years ago. And I think the first time I came here would have been about 18 years ago, 17, 18 years ago. So I just got married, and I wanted to make sure that I started married life on the right path. So the first place, the part of the honeymoon, it was about 8 weeks honeymoon we had. But the first one was to come to Mecca. And I do remember the feeling.
Hold on, 1 second. Your honeymoon was to go to Mecca.
Yes.
I was going to say, this is such a Bedouin thing. This is all the Bedouins, they get married and they're like, honeymoon, Taif or Umrah, Mecca.
Mashallah, so that Bedouin then, that's what I could have been.
If you have Bedouin friends, be like, I took it to Taif as well, they'll laugh.
I didn't do Taif, I think we did Jeddah, I think that's what happened. But when we first came here, and then I had the very good fortune of coming into Mecca. This was before the clock tower, obviously, many years ago. But as I walked, back then, Mecca had an area of, it wasn't all wealth. So there were certain areas you could walk up this mud path, there were people begging, and it looked very slums, poor. And the overwhelming thing for me was as we walked around a corner, and then the Haram was there. And the only way I can describe it, this overwhelming sense, it was as if the gates of Jannah were there. And I found it very emotional. I think I may have shed a tear, and it would have been quite overwhelming in glory almost. What I've noticed, and I don't know whether it's because of exposure because I've done it so often
Yeah.
now. 3 or 4 times a year we get to go to do Umrah or certainly visit either Mecca or Medina. But now I've never captured the same feeling in Mecca. However, when I go to Medina Munawwara, mashallah, tabarakallah, then it's different. It's a different. It's almost on a regular basis. I can still sort of absorb that. It's almost like there's an emotional aura. Yeah. We all have pheromones, and the smells make us feel particular ways. I feel Medina Munawwara is infused with such pheromones that make me feel that way.
Yeah. So when it comes to like Medina, like I quite often go. So I've got my friend Abu Kian. He lives in Yemba. So I quite often I prefer driving places.
Mashallah, I do too.
Yeah. So I do like 10-hour drive. It's like from like Dawadimi to like Yemba. So usually Medina is one of my stop offs. Like, I'll go pray and then like I'll maybe grab something to eat and then I continue. So yeah, there is and there's. I think there's also like relationships with like the people I go with. So a lot of time, if I'm going, not every time, I don't. But a lot of the time I'll be going with my wife. So my wife will always be like, let's we'll go to like Masjid al-Qabba and all this. And
I have a similar thing. When I go with friends, no disrespect to any of the guys that are watching at home, but the best times are with my wife.
Yeah.
Because we're in sync. Yeah. Spirituality. And I just feel that that's the time when I can present to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in my purest form. Whereas when you're with friends, you're almost, is everybody okay? Is everybody all right? And we're sort of pandering to other people's needs. So it's a lot more spiritual when I'm with my family, certainly.
Yeah, I think it's just, I guess it's for me, it's just, that kind of, it's from my experience, we're usually going like, so a lot of time I'll grab my wife and then I'll go see my friends, but like I'll see them and then like she'll go with like the women. So that was like my little thing. Like when I first got married, I'm there. Like my friends live literally like everywhere in Saudi Arabia.
Mashallah.
And I'm quite a social person. I love to go see them. So I drive for minimum it's usually 4 hours. 4 hours, 10 hours, 13. So I can go visit them. So I don't want my wife to be like, you always go on seeing your friends. I want you to stay with me. So I'm like, come. So when I first got married, we did like a trip, started off in Riyadh and went to like the eastern province. So we drove from like the east all the way to the west, visiting people, some of my friends. And then so I go with the guys and drop her off with like the women of their family. And basically did that from like the east through Dawadmi and Qasim and then like Afif, Medina, Yemba, all this. And and now she has like friendships there. So even like last time I was given 7 days at the Red Sea project.
Inshallah.
I was like, I don't need 7 days. Give me 3 or 4 because I've got a wedding in Afif to go to. So it was my wife who was like, okay, on the way we need to go to Dawadimi because I want to go see the girls.
Lovely.
Let's do it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, there's a dog at home. And like when you come back or the dog's going to go for a walk and it's like in the kitchen, like its legs are sliding on. I was like that, like getting ready desperate to go. And I was like, wait for my stupid friends to wake up. I'm like, nope. I'm like, order a taxi on my way to Diriyah. Literally, I was there from like the morning till after Maghrib. Like going around, and I was there like wearing like thobe and shamar and all this stuff. It was really funny because they don't know I'm not a Saudi. So I went into like the War Museum and there are 2 girls. I still remember their names. So there was Aisha, and then I've just said I still remember their names. I've forgotten the other one's name. Munira. Okay. And I walked in and like shakhsiyya Saudiya كذا. Walk in, they look at me, they have to like welcome all the guests. They're like, Assalamu alaikum, hayyakum Allah, wa alaikum assalam كذا. Anyway, I'm going around and I'm looking at some of the stuff and they've got the rifles. There's a rifle they have in there, I have it at home in Nottingham. We call it a camel rifle. It's where like the buttstock, it goes down. They call it Jazal, but I was like, I don't know what they call it here. Let me ask them. So in Arabic, because she said to me, she's like, do you want me to give you like a little kind of talk of what we have here? And I'm like, yeah, Allah. So she's explaining to me everything in Arabic. this point, she doesn't know I'm not a Saudi. She thinks she's given a talk to a Saudi. And again, I should chill, you know, I'm going along with it. And then I saw a rifle, and I was like, I said to her in Arabic, I'm like, يعني وش تسمون البندقية ذي بالإنجليزي? So what do you call it in English? And she looks at me with this look like, تبين إنك تتكلم إنجليزي, you want to show that you speak English or whatever. She gave me this look. I understood the look. And now I'm like, oh, I need to like explain or whatever, like, but I'm not reading the right clothing. Be like, oh, by the way, like, oh, like I'm English, I'm not Saudi. And she looks at me like, oh, who's this idiot? Like really, like, yeah, like, you came from like I don't know, a Shemasi and pretending that you're from English. What's this like crappy sense of humor or whatever? Like, I don't have time for this. Which makes me want to explain it more. So now I start speaking in English, and I'm like, no, I'm really English. My name's John. And she's like, she hears the accent. She's like, I don't believe you. Show me your passport. I'm like, I don't bring my passport to a museum. Like, I have my driver's license. She sees it, and she's like,
I find it
really
so funny the fact that you went through that experience, and it reminds me of something when I was in the UK. And it just shows that how that I get entrenched in the culture over here. And so I'm back in Pinner, and I'm in a Tesco, and I was not paying attention. I was on my phone. So the lady's going beep, 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 and then she just sits there and looks at me, and I'm just. And then she said, "What? Do you want me to pack as well?" And I was like, oh, I'm terribly sorry. I'm just not used to doing it.
Yeah.
And I just found myself digging myself into this grave. Usually somebody else does it for me. And I thought the more I was speaking, the worse it was getting. As this woman's looking at me, you arrogant English, whatever it was. And it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And it was the same sort of thing where somebody didn't, my identity almost felt quite Saudi because this is what we're used to.
Yeah.
It got worse when, after that, later on that day, I'm with a particular client in Knightsbridge, and we're driving. He goes, I need to go and get some water. He goes, but look, you drive, you take the car. And so I'm driving this beautiful Rolls Royce, driving up, we go into the petrol station. And I wait, and he goes in and buys some water because he was going to get a carton of water for the home, and I sat there, and he's going, I don't know, beep beep, and then it's like, what? And then I realised, oh my days, I'm not where I was, and I'm so used to. So then I did get out and do the petrol, but it's something that. And this is what I mean, I've been so entrenched, and when we talked about identity at the beginning, my identity has become almost into a Saudi because of the culture and the values that go on here, and it just sort of surreptitiously takes over you in a really positive way.
Yeah, like there's a phrase in Arabic, they say, "Min ashir qawm Arabiyyin yumsar minhum." So whoever lives with the people after 40 days becomes one of them. And there is this thing where like you do pick up habits and certain traits, and without not even realizing it. I was on a show not long ago, and they were like, "What phrases do you start to use, and you use them like around English people? They don't understand." And I was like, "Oh, saramaha," you know, this is something like I say all the time, and I'm like, and I was even like, I don't, because the way I learned Arabic, I never studied Arabic. I just learned from being around people, so I never bothered like translating stuff. So a lot of the time, I don't really think about like what's the English equivalent. So someone's there like, how do you say that? And then like in English, and then I'm like, and then I feel like it's almost like I'm not English. I don't speak English. I'm like,
because there are some words.
Some words it doesn't translate.
You can't translate.
Yeah. Like for example, I say to someone, okay, like translate وَالنَّعَمْ. Like you can't. Ma'alik zot. Go and translate it. Like we don't like when it depends on the context. you know, like, nice to meet you. It doesn't have the same hit. It's like with like, yeah, it's like with, if I say like, it doesn't have like, in Arabic, and like, even like, I know you don't use bad language, I have sometimes.
No, we're different.
In the car, I'm very good at it, no one else can hear, but like someone cuts me off, like, I cuss them out in Arabic, because you feel it. You feel it. You know when like someone's about to like hit the side of you, on the way, there was a lorry, almost, I was running a little bit late, and on my way, and this lorry's about to take me out, and
the language that came out of you then.
But yeah, so it's a thing of like, there are those things, but even just the things like I naturally want, or where I'm happy, like. In the UK, it's almost like I lived in the UK like a Saudi for a while, because everyone around me, they were all Saudis, apart from like my parents and my work colleagues.
Mashallah.
So it was always like we have
so
like a
sense
majlis. For a long time being with them, the food that I eat, it's, and you kind of do it without noticing. It's not an obvious thing, and I always try to be like, I'm really English, I'm too proud to be English, and sometimes I'm like, John, but you know when I've realized I was really English? When I came to Saudi Arabia, okay, and if we have anyone from the UK, I went
from the UK.
Yeah, so I went to the shops and I found Cadbury's chocolate bars. Okay, I ate it and I was like, and I was like, oh, it's obviously out of date, and I bought another one. I'm like, it's out of date. This tastes horrible. And I was reading the back. I'm like, made in Egypt. I realized they're making it. There's a company which is making it in Egypt, and it's not the same as real Cadbury's.
Yes.
So I found a couple shops in Riyadh, and they do have it, or I get people to ship it over, because it's not the same. Look, I'm English. Don't mess with our Cadbury's.
Yes,
okay?
absolutely.
That's where the red line is. Okay, do whatever you want. We don't care. But Cadbury's, I'm sorry, khat ahmar, red line.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Are there any? I want to take one last question from the audience, if that's okay, because I know we've got other people that want to interview. Please.
The question I'd like to ask was there a time in your life that for everybody else that was a complete success, but you realized this is a failure, or the opposite?
So repeat the question again, sorry.
So a time of your life, everybody felt that was a complete success.
So a time of John's life where he felt that he was a complete success.
Or a complete failure.
Or a complete failure.
But he figured out that it was the total opposite. So it was a complete success, but he figured out that this was the most failed.
Most days, there's usually some kind of failure in there. By the way, I thrive on failure.
Yes.
For me, I don't care. Like, I live my life like, it's hard for me to say, express the way that I want to, but I live my life like, don't really give two hoots. We're gonna fail every day, and that's fine. So growing up, my parents don't like really kind of baby us. Okay, my dad has never said to me, okay, I'm so proud of you. For me, that's kind of like, gay. You know? Like, if I'm really honest, I'm like, it's...
Is it weak? Is it a sign of weakness?
Yeah. You know why? Because then you get these snotty little brats which think that they've achieved things. It's like, you haven't done anything. You've done nothing. And I think it also helps you to be humble.
Yes.
Of like, yeah, I haven't done that much. Like, my dad, in pretty much absolutely bloody everything, is way ahead of me. Okay? So...
language acquisition.
Yeah, but he's very, very intelligent.
Do you know what it is? It's very interesting. There's a psychological construct with polyglots, so people who can speak multiple languages. And when they studied them, they said the one attribute that was common with people who spoke multiple language was their fear of failure. And they didn't have such a strong fear of failure. And this led them to what you're doing, which is to go out there and just speak the language. There was a teacher here earlier who also said, and he is a teacher of a second language, and he said, don't go and teach, don't go and learn Arabic, go and experience Arabic, and don't be afraid to express as well as you can. Let people ridicule, laugh at you, and you will learn far faster. And sort of resonates with what you're doing.
100%. Like if I make mistakes, especially if it turns out to be funny, best thing ever. So when I used to make videos on TikTok at the start, like Saudis, like they have an amazing sense of humor. I would say like Saudis, they're like really witty. So some of them used to make jokes about me, and they're so funny. You know, like I'd get the comments, they're like, "Well, John, you're amazing." I'm like, "I don't care, skip." Okay, the ones which would be like, "This guy doesn't look English. Look at that mustache. He looks like he's Turkish and makes shawarmas." I'm like, like for like the whole week, like like those kind of jokes, and they like ridicule you a bit. I'm like, oh, that's so true. Or like my friends, they're all in there a bunch of bullies. I love bullies. Bullies make good characteristics. I know I'm in a school. I shouldn't say bully is a good thing, but it is.
Builds character.
Builds character. Okay.
Builds character.
Like they'll make like stickers on like Snapchat, yeah. So like any picture of you looking stupid, and they put them together. Like it's amazing. I started getting like the pictures. Like if I take a picture of myself, I always look stupid. Like I film from a blow. I make my double chin look even bigger. Like I don't know why, but I have this like thing where like I'll take a picture, my eyes are always like half closed and my tongue's like sticking out a little bit. So I'm like, sticker. So yeah, it builds strong personalities. The other thing is as well is there's a big thing about being humble and truly being humble. Like we know like the person who is anti-kibr, arrogance, like and he thinks he's better than everyone else, won't see Jannah. Okay. So there's a thing of like, and in Islam, Allah always warns us from al-kibr, okay? So always trying to be humble. And I think actually, like knowing you're not, the best thing since sliced bread, you need to know that. Understanding that there will always be someone better. You have somewhere, you have improvement. Being able to laugh at yourself, not taking yourself that seriously all the time. Is I think is an important lesson. I think we can all do it. So for me, it's with humor. I have no problem making mistakes. Someone laughing at me, when they laugh at me, they're usually right. I didn't laugh for no reason. Okay, yeah. So that's kind of a lot of my outlook. And yeah, sure, I'll make mistakes. I'll say stupid things. That's fine. It's okay. Enjoy life.
What I'd like to do then, if I can just close with the audience here today with one remark that I'd like from you, and that is, what does the future hold for John bin London in Saudi Arabia?
Allah inshallah khair. والفلوس. So I don't know. It's like people always ask me. They're like, so what's your plan? And I'm like, I've been here for 9 months. I'd be pretty stupid to have like an exact plan, because you need to work things out. You need to research. You need to be like, okay, what are the things that I can do? What needs to be done here? What are the opportunities available? Where can I be useful? Okay, so I don't have a direct like in 2 years' time, I'm going to have this business and do this and this and this and this. There are some things I'd like to go into. There are some things I'm seeing opportunities in. There are things where I'm seeing I can be useful and maybe I can be of benefit. And things that I enjoy as well. Like I'm not really interested in doing things that I don't enjoy.
Yes.
That's my time. Time is a finite substance that you're not going to get back. Okay? So don't waste it on something that you don't enjoy. Don't waste it on something where you're like, you wake up every morning, you're like, Of course, it's life. Like, we're going to do things that we don't want to do some of the time.
I think that's so powerful, what you've just said about time being so finite. And I think it just wraps it up very, very nicely. Yeah. The fact that, that there's a wonderful piece of advice, I think, for the shabab. If you are going to go out there and do anything in life, do it with purpose. Make sure you're going to make an impact. But ultimately, enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And
love it.
And I know you're putting an end to it, and I'm extending that end a little bit. But it's a thing of like whatever you do, like put everything into it. At the end of the day, when you do something, you're putting your reputation on that. Okay, you're associated with that thing. Also understand, whether we like it or not. Okay, sometimes we're representing more than ourselves. Okay. The way that I behave with people, I may be representing people of my country, my religion, my family, okay? there is a responsibility. You know, people will say like, oh, I don't care, and I don't care what they think of us. I'm like, it has an effect, it has an impact. You know, understand like what and who we're representing. Put everything into it. You know, when we're given the opportunity to help someone, do it. Something else like, I'm guessing a lot of us are Muslims. You know, we always want good things for ourselves, but it's good to want good things for our brothers. Okay, we have like always make 100 excuses for your brother who's a Muslim. Okay, do something. Yani wajh Allah. Yani just for the sake of Allah. Allah huwa Razzaq. Okay, he's the most rewarding. So. مو مقصر بهذا الشيء. He's not like هو الرزاق يعني افهمه like he's the most rewarding. Whatever like rewards and goodness you can think of, he has more. And so you do this for the sake of Allah, like you'll reach those benefits.
MashaAllah. Well, it's been an absolute honour, a privilege and a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time. All the best. Bye-bye. Thank you.